Yeah, we have a Facebook page. It's SPARC-LIFE. We grew that up pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's going pretty good. You know, we also we have our website also, SPARC-LIFE.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, on there you can get our information. I know my phone number's on there.
I think all of ours are on there. Yeah.
All of our information, and we're always available. Available.
Where did the name SPARC come from?
Well, SPARC, it stands for Servicing People Around Recovery Communities. When we were doing it, because that's, you know, my mom really, like, that was like a thing with her, you know, because she wanted to, like, put a spark, because, you know, it's been really hard for my mom since losing my sister, you know, and this has been, and doing this too, because we also have grief support meetings, where right now we have them on a Zoom platform, because it's with the epidemic, we can't really have like social gatherings. And if you go onto our Facebook page, there's always the access code or password to get into grief support meetings, and that's really been keeping her going. And it's you know, and with this, people are dying every day, you know, and it's being able to have, you know, and that's something that people reach out a lot to us about, you know, when they lose a loved one, you know, because other organizations, they really deal more, they'll deal more with, you know, being like family to addicts that are still out there. We deal more with being family to the addict that has died. Mm-hmm. You know, we do a lot of grief support with that. We have one woman's on there. That's what she does for a living. That's on our meetings, and she sits in there and she chimes in, and, you know, to give her input, you know, professional input during the grief support meetings. And you know, and it's great being able to do that. I had a friend of mine pass away the day after my sister's 1-year anniversary, and you know, he's a good friend of mine out in California. He was flying from California over to Nashville, where he was from, to surprise his mom for Mother's Day, and he died in a airport bathroom in Denver. You know, and his mom had no idea. They didn't find out till hours, you know, probably a day later, you know, that happened, because nobody knew he was going there. He was a good friend of mine, you know, and, you know, and I never met his parents, because I just knew him out in California, and, you know, and like his parents have been able to come on to our support grief meeting, you know, and so we give, like, you know, families and loved ones that you know, because it's hard losing somebody. It is. It's hard. You know, I mean, I don't want to say it's you know, I don't want to downplay losing anybody to anything else, but, like, when it comes to losing somebody to a drug overdose, you know, because it's like I can say, like, for me personally, because the night my sister passed away, you know, she called me and left a message. And she, you know, and probably like an hour later, she died, you know. And
because it's almost such a preventable thing?
No, I don't know if it would have been preventable, but it's just like one of those things, like, I just didn't see it coming. You know, you don't see it coming.
Yeah. It's almost like, you know, someone's diagnosed with cancer. You can see it building up. Mm-hmm. With this, you can't really see it building up, because it's all within what's going on internally with them. Because on the outside, you can look at somebody and say, oh, he's doing great. We just don't know. So it's the shock of people that are appearing to do well and then suddenly pass away. You know, I think it's just the sudden. And I've often said it's a roller coaster ride that I didn't ask to be on, but it's the ride that I've been chosen to be on. So, you know, you just don't know. You pray for the best, and sometimes something like that happens. And, you know, it could be like Maggie. She was in a recovery house. Yeah. She was in a recovery house, and that's, again, what in the very beginning, that was my source, because there are so many recovery houses that are not regulated, are not run properly, that there's so many pieces of what happened in that scenario that was totally preventable, and that they did completely incorrect. And, you know, and it goes back to potentially of us knowing what should have been done, maybe we could have picked a different house. But, you go by word of mouth. And so what we do is we don't send anybody to a house unless we've personally been involved in that house. I need to go into the house. I want to see the house. I want to go in the bedrooms of the house. I want to go into the refrigerators of the house. You want to make sure that they're being run properly and it's just not a flop house. So, that's what we've learned. We would never send somebody to a place that we're not comfortable with. If we're not familiar with it, we want to make sure that they go somewhere good. And that's the biggest thing. And I think that, sources of some of the deaths that happen in recovery houses can be preventable because there needs to be rules and regulations and they have to be followed with no exception. And unfortunately, that did not happen in the house that Maggie was in. And almost immediately, I was one of the second people there when this happened because Kathy didn't know what to do, so she called us. And there was so many things. They wouldn't let me in. They wouldn't let me in the house. There was just so many questions I immediately had that Kathy didn't honestly know to even ask these questions. And that's the sad part. My child's been in and out of recovery houses, so I have to educate myself. I'm a learner by nature. I continue to ask questions. So these are all the questions and kind of the things that I knew simply because that's just my personality, and if we can save people from going into these places to know that they're run properly, that's kind of where this started.
Yeah, because and that's been a cool thing too. Is so these houses where we send people, the people that own the houses, they become part of it too. Even with a couple of houses that we work with, when we have our outings, the owners of the houses are right there with us. They bring clients that we're not even scholarshiping or anything, but they'll have all their people come out and help. And, and again, it's one of those things, it's where we get to form these relationships, and it is, and we take, and that's one thing working in treatment that I learned is when you're sending people from treatment into a recovery house, that's like a case management thing in the treatment world. And with case management, they're the ones that are supposed to build these relationships and know the good places to send people to. But there's so many, there's just so many. And the reality of it is that, a lot of the addicts, they know the ones that they can go to and get away with stuff. They know the ones that, they can go and they can do shady stuff in there, and if that's something else we want to be a part of is trying to get stricter regulations on these places. Get them ran how they're supposed to get ran. Because what happens is people, they get that one house and they turn into a recovery house and they start making the money and the greed sets in. Yeah. Because it is.
Is that an uphill battle for you guys to?
Well, it's been we do focus a lot on it. We do focus on, in the very beginning, we were at different houses every night I had off, I was in a different house, and we were really focusing on finding good houses and visiting houses, making relationships. And unfortunately, COVID hit, and we kind of had to step back a lot. So, we haven't actively been meeting people as much as we did in the beginning. I mean, we were in recovery houses, we were in rehabs all the time. We were making really good connections. So once this starts lifting, we're going to start focusing again on that. For a while, we had to cut back just because of, but there were certain things that I personally continued to do as far as the lunches, the outreaches, things like that. That's kind of where the last little bit has been focusing. Just simply because that's where we can focus right now. I miss going into these houses and feeding them breakfast and hanging out with them, but we will get back there. We definitely will. So
and because we have 3 chapters. We have members that are down in the South Florida area. We do stuff down there. We've done outings out there in the West Palm area. Help people with bikes. Make sure the bikes are staying repaired. Mm-hmm. One of our board members, he's heavily involved in that. And then, of course, California, when I was out there, we've been able to scholarship a couple people out there through recovery, through sober living houses out there. And you know, through my process, like, we've been able to form relationships with people out there also, you know, and it's a definitely a good tool to have, because, you know, a lot of people, it's not just, you know, for the people that have the insurance where they're on their parents' insurance and they have the ability to get up and go to a place like Southern Florida or California or Utah or some of these nice places where they have really nice treatment centers. You know, we've been blessed with my situation, and, you know, with what happened with me with being on a TV show, and, you know, and people seeing my story, you know, in a big way. You know, I've been able to get these relationships to where, you know, I have more than just Philadelphia. You know, I have places all over the country I can call and say, hey, like, I got somebody who needs some help, like, you know, and of course, like, I'm grew up in the streets, so, like, I'm a finagler, you know, like, yeah. I'm gonna do whatever I can to get it to make it work. Yeah, you know, like, out in California, they would hate me because I would show up with somebody and be like, look, I'm not leaving until you get this guy into the detox, because it's not like that out there. They don't have to sit there for an assessment. And, you know, and I would tell them, like, hey, man, like, you bring this guy in, the guy don't have nothing, you give him some free treatment, and, you know, and I'll do something for you, you know, something, whatever it is, you know, and that's how all business works.
Whatever it is you can do to help.
Yeah, you know, and that's one of the cool things that we have is from having SPARC and doing what we do with people coming out, like, we're able to tell people, like, hey, you know, we can, you know, because there is a process with us helping people. Like, they do have to go through a process. They have to get a couple letters sent in, answer some questions. We do an interview with them. Like, it's not just this isn't it's not an easy thing for us to sponsor somebody, but because we want to make sure that it's not just, you know, we're not just, like, throwing the money away, you know, because. And we have made some mistakes early on with helping some people, and you know, and it's a learning process. And you know, and our big thing is, like, so now it's like, you know, we want to see what's going on with their family. You know, we want to see how it was while they were in treatment. You know, we ask for them to get, like, a case manager or, you know, a therapist as one of the letters that they send in to us. We do, like I said, we do the interview process, and even during COVID, like, we've been doing our interview processes over the Zoom platform, you know, and you know, and it's just great when you see people, like, we just had a girl that out in California that we just finished, you know, helping with her, and, like, talking to her while she was in treatment, you know, out there, and you know, and knowing, like, that the guilt and the shame and the remorse and how horrible she felt about everything. But from seeing her then to now, where she's at about 9 months clean, and just seeing the transformation, you know.
Not only that, but you're also, I mean, perfect example. The 180 you did, you turned around and you helped so many people. You basically made other people who are just like you, who are trying to help.
And again, that's one of our main points. So when we interview them, we make it very clear you are going to become part of our family, which in return, all we ask for you is you give back. You know, so, you know, the girl that we are currently working with, she was down in Kensington sweeping up with us 2 weeks ago. You know, and, you know, she's young, she's a young girl, so it's sort of like she's my kid. And, you know, I was like, when she walked away from me, I'm like, oh no, hon, come on. You know, it's just we get to sort of mother them, or, you know, big brother them, or, you know, like, and it's rewarding.
You're not an authoritative figure that's gonna.
Yeah. No, it's you know, it's nice to walk away and get a hug from a kid that didn't potentially have any other options. So, you know, for me, it's worth it right there. I mean, reality is we've done so much in a year and a half, more than I ever dreamed of. We hope to do more. We're not going to stop. You know, so where we go with this, well, it's only God knows. Yeah. So.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on and talking about all this. We're coming to the end of the podcast, but
okay.
Thank you so much for sharing.
I appreciate it.
And being just so